Hi and welcome to our first online shift session. We aren't sitting at tables having breakfast together, but I hope you have a cup of coffee in your hand and I'm really glad that you've joined us. Our topic today is keeping calm in a Covid-19 crisis. I don't know about you, but a couple of months ago, as far as I was concerned, a Corona was a brand of beer. And a virus, well, if someone asked me, am I worried about getting a virus, the first thought that will have come to my mind is antivirus software for my computer. A few months ago, I had never heard of the phrase lockdown, but if I did, I think my mind would have gone straight to a karate move. And yet here we are, only a few months on from hearing about this particular coronavirus for the very first time, and our lives are unrecognizable in so many ways. It can be hard in the face of so much change to stay calm. It can be hard to stay calm when we're living with the fear of impending doom, when the world doesn't feel like the safe place that it used to. It can be hard to get on with normal things when we are acutely aware of how many people are suffering here in our country and beyond. It can be hard to feel like it's okay when your parents or others that you love might live just down the road, but you can't see them. Or you might only be able to see them on Skype or a phone call, or if you're lucky, to wave at them from the bottom of the driveway. It can be hard to keep it together if the people that you love live far away, and you don't know when you're going to be able to travel to see them again. It's not easy to keep calm in times like these. And it's also hard to keep calm because of the sheer magnitude of information that's being presented to us at the moment. If you've switched on the news recently, you might have found that you got stuck there for a lot of hours with images and visuals and footage that completely just about blow your mind because there is so much to take in. And then there's social media. I love social media. There's so many good things. There are memes and inspiring stories and many things to see. But there is also, amidst all that, a whole lot of information that is hard to sift through. And we can find ourselves very quickly blown away and overwhelmed with all that there is to take in. So I was thinking about what it might take to stay calm in a COVID-19 crisis. And I asked Ian Littlejohn, who is a member of the Shift team, whether he would be willing to share with us some of the data that he has collected through his company Data Insight Training. You can find them on datainsighttraining.com, and by following the data that has come through from the World Health Organization, he's really been able to show us all that vast magnitude of information in bite-sized chunks that is easy to understand. So let's go and have a look at the conversation that I had with Ian on Zoom earlier today. Hi Ian, good to meet with you. How are you doing? How is your family?
Hi Wendy, thanks for asking. The family is all good at the moment, and I think everybody's adapting to the new way of living actually a bit, isn't it? It's a huge change for everybody.
Ian, we wanted to have a chat with you because with your work with data and working with data through Data Insight Training, I believe that you've been working on some of the material and data that's coming through from the World Health Organization. Would you mind to just speak us through some of the data that you've been working with over the last few weeks?
Thanks, Wendy. Yes, we a while back actually decided that this would be an interesting project to work with data. And obviously at the time we started with this, we didn't quite know where it was going to lead to or where it was going to go and what the consequences were. So on this, what we basically got on the left-hand side is some key metrics just showing globally what the confirmed number of cases is and new cases for the previous day. We do put at the bottom here just a bit of information that we're sourcing it from World Health Organization, and we have the last update date as well. So we're always kind of one day behind the actual day because that's when the World Health Organization publishes the information. Then on the right-hand side here, we got per country showing the number of cases. But what we can also do is just filter the data to show what is actually happening within that country. So over here, we got the new cases by date, and you can see that there's been a significant increase in the number of cases by date, where we're pretty much worldwide getting to 45 to 50,000 new cases per day at the moment. But it's kind of leveling out over the last few days over this number, which is encouraging, because that's one of the patterns that we want to see, is things leveling out, which then can lead to a decrease. You can also see with the number of deaths, the number of deaths unfortunately is continuing to increase on a daily basis. What I wanted to show though was really just a couple of case studies, because everybody's saying, how long is this going to last? What is it? Why are we in lockdown? Why is it that we're doing the measures that we're doing? So I just wanted to show from a data point of view what happened in China. So this is the China graph, and basically this starts around mid-January when they started getting the data coming in, and you can see a rapid increase in the number of cases that was happening there. But then also almost an immediate response that they did. And we know in China there was a lot of lockdown, there was a lot of things that they put in place, a lot of news reports saying draconian measures and things that were put in place. But you can see that the results of this was that there was a very rapid decrease in the number of cases. And what they're trying to do is just stop the transmission. When people get together socially, this virus has just been passed on so easily and so quickly that's why we got the social distancing at the moment, and that we got the lockdown in place, is that they're just trying to create this. But let's have a look across. If we look at, say, Italy, for example, where we know there is challenges. So you can see at the moment that they have also had the rapid increase in number of cases, but we are starting to see a little bit of plateauing, and hopefully we really hope that number starts to decrease and that the measures they've put in place. If I look at another example, let's say Germany, for example, you can see over here that they're still getting a hold of it. The cases aren't consistent at the moment. So depending on which country you're looking at, you can start to see these graphs come into place. So I just want to go to the United Kingdom quickly. And obviously everybody's interested here. And unfortunately, we are still in the growth phase. And until we get to a point where we start actually slowing this virus down and slowing the transmission down, and we start plateauing the data, that unfortunately is going to continue. And you can see the number of cases almost on a daily basis where you're starting to double is really concerning. But unfortunately, that's where the United Kingdom is at the moment, as of the data of yesterday. But what I also wanted to show was another case study just of Korea, just to show that the Koreans also managed to have quite an increase and then did manage to decrease this rather quickly. They haven't got total control of it yet, and that is the concern with this virus. It is difficult. But I would really just sort of say to people, when you're looking at these things that have been put in place, it's really to just try and slow down the transmission of this virus that we're seeing at the moment. And again, Korea have shown here that it is possible and can be done. So those are just a couple of case studies that I just wanted to show people quickly, just to try and explain why it is from a data point of view that we're seeing such a rapid transmission, but also these measures that have been put in place that are quite hectic, I think, in terms of our modern times.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is really interesting to actually look at it and to see the shape of the things and what a difference we can make. I mean, you look at these numbers, it's staggering to think of the people who are sick, the people who have lost their lives. This is a lot of bad news here in terms of this data. For you personally, what do you feel is the way that you can recognize or reconcile your personal faith in God with data that is pretty scary to look at?
Yeah, I think I'll just turn off the screen share over there. And I think, that's obviously a really good question. I think, this is a time of reflection for a lot of people in terms of where we are. And, if I look at the data and what we're seeing, I think the first concern is obviously that we know that the elderly and vulnerable people is really concerning. And, that's where our hearts go to the first part. But I think if we look at the data as well, it's also telling us, I think, that the world is a bit tired. The world we put it under a lot of pressure. And this fact of taking away the travel, taking away the amount of travel that is just done on, and already starting to see the results in terms of the less pollution going out there, less things being made, less things being consumed. So always when these things happen, I think, it's a turn for people to look at themselves and see where their lives are. And hopefully for us to take a bit of a long, deep breath in this. I think the world at the moment is hopefully getting a bit of a breather now. We're not putting so much pressure on it. And it is going to mean that there's going to be changes, and change isn't always easy when we reconcile. So this is the first one, but we're amazing people. We adapt to these situations really, really well. And now, just seeing the Zoom calls that are going on, and people having little work things together, having a glass of wine over it. So we adapt really well to the fact of the changes in solutions. And already people with their businesses are looking at new ways of being able to work and interact. So I think a lot of great news coming out. I think from a personal faith point of view, we obviously put our trust in God, and we know that's, we're going to face difficult situations, but when we've got faith, then we can get through anything. So we just look for direction and we look for guidance, and we ask for his assistance, and we look for that.
Thank you for sharing that, Ian. Ian, you spoke about how sometimes a tragedy like this can cause us to make changes in the way that we live our lives, and some of those changes are temporary. We're all hoping that lockdown won't have to continue for too long. But there are other changes that we might actually want to stick with, sustainable changes. And you've hinted at some of those, but can I just ask you personally, for you, for your family, what are some of the changes that this crisis has brought into your life that you might actually like to maybe continue, or that might inspire you to live life a little differently moving forward?
Well, I think, definitely slowing down the pace of things, having time to actually spend together. And, we try and encourage those times as it is. But, in situations like this, then, we really can focus on them. And it's interesting having sort of daily schedules now within the house, but having almost, having that time together. And I think, from a family point of view, the communication is really, everybody's in touch with everybody, making sure everybody's fine. Does anybody need help? Now we're in touch with our neighbors, and there's a couple of vulnerable people that are there, and we're saying, whatever you need, please just let us know. So, definitely, taking the time and spending time on those key factors. But I think mostly, maybe slowing things down a bit, taking that long, deep breath, and just reconsidering what are the important things that we're trying to focus on at the moment.
So, Ian, having looked at the data and having a really good eye for understanding where we're going, what the trajectory of these things suggest, what would your advice be to the people in our community, the people who come to Shift, the people of Burley and Wharfdale, the United Kingdom, if you were able to give just a few words of advice or implore people to do something differently in the next few weeks, what would it be?
Well, I think unfortunately the data is telling us that still at the moment things are probably going to get worse before they get better. I think it's really about supporting our essential workers, letting them get on with their jobs, really not putting additional pressures onto the systems, purchasing what you need when you require it, not putting any additional pressure onto the fact of our supply chains at the moment. We're not sure how exactly they are going to respond, but I can tell you, if you go through those situational reports of the World Health Organization, very early on they focused on the supply chains and they were putting things in place. So there has been a lot of thinking behind the scenes here to support the supply chains and to make sure that life can continue. But obviously some of the things that have been going on with the panic buying and things like that have really put a huge strain on the systems, and just really like to ask people to rather just make sure they're getting what they need. Everything that we're seeing at the moment suggests that we will be able to keep up the supply chains and to be allowed to get that going. And I think, but by having less people that are actually out there and needing to do the jobs that they are, and for people not to be overloading the systems or to be doing things that provide additional pressure on that, is really the way that we're going to get through this in the next number of weeks. If we can just remove that and focus on those things, it will allow then the people to focus and bring those transmission rates down, and for us to be able to then get out a bit more, I guess.
I'm so grateful to Ian for putting all that across in a way that I could understand. And I'm also grateful to him for pointing out the social distancing and the social isolation and how important that really is. Ian used a phrase when he was speaking, taking a deep breath. And as we spoke, I was really struck by the idea of the world taking a deep breath, struck by the concept of a slowing down. And I think I really felt that idea of slowing down meant a lot to me in this time for two reasons. One, because it is a part of the solution to this crisis. I read a statement yesterday that put it really simply: this virus doesn't move, people move. If we stop moving, the virus stops. And so there is an important aspect to slowing down and distancing ourselves, holding space to slow the virus. But secondly, I was struck because this is a solution not only to the spread of the virus, but perhaps slowing down is also a solution to the overwhelming feelings that come with this crisis. And not only that, but a part of the solution to the chaos and the madness of, well, what we might have called ordinary or normal life before this all happened. I don't think I speak only for myself when I say that I tend to rush through life, running from one thing to another, packing every minute full of activity, passing people and moments in a blur of activity, just trying to get everything done. And yesterday I was out on my daily exercise walk when from time to time I would be approaching someone who was coming my way. And I wondered to myself, I wonder how often I've seen people approaching and I haven't even noticed them. I've been too busy, too preoccupied to take note of the people that I'm walking past and make eye contact. Well, not this time. This time, as we approached, we made eye contact from meters away, and we engaged in this sort of silent negotiation of who's going to go this way, who's going to go that way, to ensure that there were at least 2 meters between us as we passed one another. This was such a moment of consciousness, of carefulness, of intentional and mindful caring for one another as we walk down the road. Last year, I was fortunate enough to sit in on a seminar with a progressive Jewish rabbi who lives in an Orthodox Jewish home, and she was explaining the practice of the Sabbath to us. The Sabbath is an ancient practice of, on the 7th day of the week, slowing down and resting to honor and enjoy life and God and other people. And so she explained to us the various aspects to what it meant to practice the Sabbath, not walking a certain distance, not carrying things from one room to another, not using electronics. And at first it sounded like a list of rules. But she explained to us that she doesn't follow these things in a legalistic way out of fear of getting in trouble. For her, this was not about rules and regulations. For her, this was a spiritual practice. It was an opportunity to be mindful, to slow down, to live life differently, to press pause, well, to take a deep breath. She has to think about her day, and that becomes a gift. She has to plan it out to ensure that she will have everything that she needs without doing the work that she does not want to do on the Sabbath. A bit like the sacred interactions between myself and my neighbors as we walked in the street, needing to stop and think and be mindful. That helps us to be present. She uses the time of the Sabbath to spend with her family. For those of us who are fortunate enough to be isolated with the people that we love, I wonder, how will we use this time to become more connected, to notice each other, to care for each other in different ways? I know that for many of us, lockdown does not mean that work stops. We are either working from home, or the fact that work might have stopped brings a lot of really difficult financial uncertainties our way. And so this isn't a holiday, of course. But perhaps there is something to be said for approaching this time with a Sabbath heart. It could be so easy to replace all the chaos and the busyness of normal life with the chaos and the busyness of online life, and the news and the social media and tasks and to-do lists. I wonder what it would look like to allow some emptiness where all the busyness of normal life used to be. Some emptiness, some newly created space for the people that we love. And for those for whom you're living on your own, and the people that you love are beyond your 4 walls, I wonder what it might mean for you to find new ways to connect and love and be intentional in those relationships. Perhaps a phone call, perhaps a letter. Yesterday, my brother's neighbor cut some lilies out of their garden and left it at my brother's gate. This brings an opportunity to find new ways of showing love to one another. Maybe, just maybe, some of the beauty in the ashes of this tragic situation is for all of us to hold a space and to take a breath, not only to slow down the spread of this virus, but to slow ourselves down as well. What if we took this opportunity to slow down to a pace where we notice the daffodils that are pushing up through the ground? To a pace where the stars in the night sky and the rainbows in the afternoon don't go unnoticed as they usually would? What if we slow down to a pace where we become aware of how our own mind and our feelings and our body are responding to this communal trauma that we're facing? To feel that and to tend to that and to be kind to ourselves and to others. What if we slow down to a pace, a Sabbath heart pace, which brings us to awareness of our own spirituality? If you're like me, whenever I'm brought to a place where I'm forced to slow down, I often realize that I've left my spirit somewhere back there a few weeks or even months ago. I've left my spirit there as I've rushed on with day-to-day life. This is a moment to catch up with ourselves. Our souls are not made for rush hour. They're made for noticing beauty. Our souls are made for deep gratitude and quiet wandering. Our souls are made for connecting with others, for a dependence on nature, and a dependence on others. And I believe that our souls are created for a deep and utter dependence on God. All of these things become possible when we slow down, when we close the door, when we take some time out, when we take a deep breath. And so during this lockdown, I pray that you will be safe and well. I pray that your needs will be taken care of. And I pray that all of these things will be true for you. Stay safe, everyone, and slow down.